feel like you've lost all your friends during COVID-19? I kind of do. Hi there, I'm Dr. Syra, and I wanted to talk to you today for a few minutes about friendships. During COVID-19, things have been really weird because all the ways that we would have spent time with our friends before don't work, right? So, well, at least for me, like going to their houses or going out to a restaurant or going basically anywhere together doesn't really work. And so my thoughts for you today have to do with how do you actually maintain your friendships? Now, you've probably been doing things already. If you think about it, right, there's things that you've done to touch base, to touch out or reach out to the people that you care about. And so that could be through social media, that could be through, texts and emails and whatever that we do. But there is something to be said about that face-to-face connection. So I just had a friend come over for a social distance visit, and it's different to have that face-to-face time. And so one of the things I would suggest to you as you're kind of getting back to some sort of a normal is to decide which of the friends you have that are actually going to kind of make the cut, right? Like who's actually the one or the two or the four, maybe not more than that, who you actually want to make an effort with. And there's lots of things that people are doing. They're doing like kind of online board game parties. There's all kinds of creative things happening. But again, what I know for myself is as an extrovert, I tend to surround myself with a lot of people and a lot of activity. And during COVID-19, that hasn't been a possibility. And so, it's been hard on me. It's been hard on me to just be alone, but the good news is I've had others in my household, right? So if you're an extrovert and you've been completely alone during this time, it's going to be hard. It's probably been really hard, and finding ways to keep those connections is really important. So the first thing is figure out who are the people that are going to make the cut. That's the first and foremost, most important piece of this is who is it that you're going to actually invest in. The second thing is to think about what are some meaningful ways that you want to spend time together. What I've noticed is that with my really good friends, it doesn't matter what we're doing, right? It doesn't matter that we're watching a movie or that we're visiting a new place or that we're eating in a fancy restaurant. The environment doesn't really matter. What matters is our time together. And so once you've picked who the people are, thinking about the time together that will be the most meaningful. Have you ever had this experience where you make a plan pre-COVID to go to a restaurant with friends, right? You get to the restaurant and it's just so loud and you can't even hear yourselves, right? And so it turns into a different type of a conversation than if you were kind of at a quiet coffee shop. So planning the kind of outing or the kind of event that you want, and I know this sounds like basic stuff, right? Like obviously, but what I would suggest is that during this time, we've all had to look at our lives a little bit differently, right? We've all had to be a little bit more deliberate in the ways that we interact with our loved ones. And so why not be deliberate? Why not be thoughtful about how you're going to spend that time together? The third thing I would say is to think about your timing, right? So one of the things that I've noticed with many of my clients is that they get to see or engage with their friends, but it's for a very limited amount of time. So if you think again, going back before this whole isolation thing, I would have these slots, right? Like a 45-minute slot or an hour and a half slot, and I just cram as much in as I could, like be on the phone with my friends as I'm driving somewhere. And I mean, I got to connect with a lot of people, but they weren't really deep and meaningful necessarily because I was just getting volume. And so the third thing is to think about the time that I want to spend. I love now that we have kind of more of this, or at least in my world, in my friendships, it feels a bit more spontaneous. It feels a bit more not time limited, right? So a friend that came over and we just kind of sitting around and talking, and we're not kind of looking at the time because there's that next thing to get to. So thinking about how much time do you need to actually not feel rushed in this interaction that you're going to have with your friends. Same goes for family members. So family members that you want to spend time with again, but you haven't seen in a while, be deliberate, be thoughtful. And again, this can kind of seem like common sense, like obviously, but we don't, right? What I'm worried about for myself and others in my bubble is that we're just going to go right back to the way we used to do things. We're just going to go right back to the busyness, and we're going to forget about these quality interactions that we've been having with our loved ones. And so that's my thoughts for you today, is try to find ways to expand those quality interactions even as you start kind of rejoining your life and getting back into the world. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye.